so the people who are here, you will benefit from this. The people who are not, have an insert in your packet. So I hope you all enjoyed your lunch. I'm glad you're here, that you're back. We have so much more to do today. First, we're going to have a 15-minute chair yoga demonstration. I will be the facing forward view, or am I the side view?
You're going to be the side view.
I'm going to be the side view. So don't laugh at me. Yay, we found the bag. Bravo. Lupus happens. It's funny. Okay, that's fine. So as we learned in the morning panel, a little bit of movement goes a long way. And, I know and understand that that exercise can be challenging if you're tired or your joints hurt or you're just not feeling like you're having a good day. But even though I said before that I don't like exercise, which I don't, it doesn't mean that I don't do it. Reluctantly, but I do it. So we're going to do it here. So Dina is going to lead us in a chair demonstration, and then after that I'll tell you what we're doing. Okay, so where do you want me?
Let's have you go here. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Go a little higher. Okay, so if you can clear the things off of your lap, that would be great. And then I like to make this observation. It's interesting that a lot of people think that we evolved from apes, right? So when we were apes, if we were apes, we were hunched over like this. And we took all that time to evolve and come up to here, and now we're back in this society of being like apes, right? This is what we do when we drive. This is what we do when we're texting. It's just horrific for our spine, and we spend all of our time sitting, okay? So one benefit we can do is if you're not feeling that good and at least you're in a seat and you can get a little movement in, that works out nicely. Maybe you're in an office or even on an airplane. Good place to do some of these stretches. Okay? So we're going to address moving all the joints in the body in their different directions. So let's all see if we can come up into our seat, lean just a little bit forward so that you can get your feet solidly planted down on the ground. Good. And we're going to use Toby as our side profile here. So come into bad posture, please. Okay. All right. So
A lot of practice.
a lot of us end up like this by the end of the day or maybe even mid-afternoon, right?
Good morning.
Okay. So let's all just check in with ourselves and let's think about bringing our shoulders back slightly and down away from the ears. So that work in itself might be a lot, bringing the shoulders back and down away from the ears. Good. Now I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes. You can listen to me verbally and get through this. Now think about your feet. Get your legs and your feet so they feel nice and equal to your hip distance. Okay? Press down through your feet equally. And close the eyes. And just start to breathe. And see if you can come into this space of creating a groundedness. So that relationship with our feet down onto the ground, coming into a better sense of our posture. And then if you can, see if you can really become aware of drawing that inhale through your nostrils and drawing it up into the brain area and pausing. And then exhaling and either bringing the breath back out the nostrils or maybe out your mouth. Good. So let's do that visualization with our eyes closed one more time. Inhaling nice and deep through our nose. And then pausing with that breath. And then exhaling either out the nose or the mouth. Good. Now we're going to deepen the breath experience. We're going to feel that inhale fill up the entire upper body and chest and lungs. And then as we exhale, we flush out any toxins, any stress. And inhale, fill up nice and deep. And exhale, just bring yourself to a state of calm. And then let's take about 5 more breaths on our own with our eyes closed and our feet grounded. And stay with that experience. And just see if you can find some comfort and release in your stress level. Maybe notice in your body if you're holding anything tight in your hips or your jaw or your face. Be here just listening to your breath. Good. Now let's take 2 more full breath cycles. And then you can gently open your eyes. And then just notice how you feel. And was that part of the experience interesting? Were you able to just get calm there for a couple minutes? Imagine if you did this every day when you got done with your lunch before you started your work. There's kind of a rejuvenation that happens there. If you were stressed out, that can bring you to more of a sense of calm. Okay? So that's one aspect of breathing. Now let's actually move the joints a little bit. So try to not lose that posture if it wasn't too much work. I know that can be a lot of work, just keeping that posture. Let's set our hands down on the tops of our thighs, sit up nice and tall, and then again, connect with that nice deep inhale. And this time as you exhale, you're going to gently take your gaze over to the left side. So we're just finding some rotation gently through the neck. And then let's stay there with the breath. And see if you can soften your shoulders down away from your ears. See if you can feel a light retraction of the shoulder blades back. And then let's float the gaze back to center and take a nice deep full inhale with your gaze forward. And on the exhale, take your rotation over to that other side. And you should feel a nice gentle stretch through the neck. Just be here with your breath and soften those shoulders down away from the ears. Good. Now let's come back to center with our gaze one more time. Inhale nice and deep. And then as you exhale, take your chin down towards the chest. And feel how you get the stretch through the back of the neck. Maybe close your eyes here and take a couple breaths. And then let's take the gaze back to center one more time. And as you inhale, gently take your gaze upwards, gently stretching through the front of the throat and not going too far, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. And then take an inhale here, keep the gaze upwards, and then as you exhale, take that chin all the way down towards the chest. Good, and just soften here for a moment. Notice if you're tensing through your hips or your knees or your arms. And then let's come back to center and take an inhale here. Now on the exhale, take your left ear over towards the shoulder. So we get a little vertical stretch. And that might be pretty tense, so don't go to the point where you're in pain, but just try to be here with the stretch. And then let's come back to center and take an inhale. And then as you exhale, take the opposite ear to the shoulder. And be here with your breath. It's very important to connect the movement with the breath. Good. Now let's come back to center nice and gentle, and we'll move into other parts of the body. So I'm going to demonstrate. So we just went through the full spectrum of all 6 movements of the neck. We took it into extension, flexion, rotation, and lateral movements. Now we're going to do that with Toby's spine, and you can join in along with us. As you inhale, you're going to curve your back and lift your chest up. And then as you exhale, draw the belly in and scoop it back. Good. So this is like a chair cat-cow. Inhale, reach up through your chest, find that little curve in your back as you lift up. And then exhale, scoop out through your belly and find a little stretch. Good. Let's do 2 more of those. Inhaling, lifting up through your chest. Feel that rise up and opening. And then exhale, coming into flexion with our back. And the last one, inhaling, finding extension through the spine. And exhaling and releasing back. Good. Now come back up to your nice tall posture. And take a moment here to realign yourself with your breath and your posture. Good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the left arm up overhead. And on an exhale, you're going to gently drape over towards that right side. So we're taking a stretch through the low back. This is the lateral part of the spinal stretch. And then let's come back up to center. Maybe take both arms up overhead. And then exhale and take the left arm and come over to the other side. Good. Let's try that one again. Everybody inhale and come up to center. And exhale, drape over to that right side. So can you guys feel that in your low spine? Inhale, come back up to center. And then exhale and take it over to the other side. Good. And then let's come back to center. Inhale, both arms up. And then as you exhale, you can take the hands down to the heart center or the tops of the legs. Good. And just take a moment there. So imagine if you were sitting for a really long time, just that little piece where you stand up and you take that lateral movement totally resets your low back. You should be doing that once an hour if you can, if you have an office job where you're sitting or you're just sitting a lot. Okay. So next little piece we want to do, just like we did with the rotation through the neck, we want to think about the rotation through the spine, okay? So everybody's going to have to sit up just a little bit in their seat because we've got arms and things we're dealing with. Sit up nice and tall, and then take an inhale here. And as you exhale, you're going to take a gentle twist over to the side. Good. Inhale. Now take a gentle twist to the side. Good. Doesn't matter which side you go to, it's fine. Now find your breath here and keep your spine nice and tall. And then exhale and come back to center. And then you inhale back at center again and take that spinal twist over to the other side. So spine is nice and tall. We're just finding some rotation through the torso. And then see that your breath is nice and deep here. Good. Now let's exhale and come back to center and just reset one more time. Good. Now I'm going to offer this. Not everybody may be able to do this. Take your right ankle and take it to the top of your left leg, if that's doable for you. I know. Some of us are not going to be able to do that. But I'm still going to... Modification that we could do with the hands? Yeah. Modification can just be crossing the ankle over the opposite and opening up through the hip. Okay? Everybody got that? So you're either up here to some degree. Some of us are going to be up here, or you're here, or you can just cross the ankles and open up. So we're just getting a little bit of hip opening. Okay, good. So everybody find your version of the hip opening and connect with your breath here. Good. So this is harder than it looks, right? But is everybody feeling a little opening through the hips? Good. Now just take a couple breaths here, and then we're going to switch it out to the other side. And if you're wearing a dress, you're staying as ladylike as possible. All right. Now let's take the leg back down and then just reset for a moment. Good. And then you're going to take the opposite ankle to the top of the leg and find your hip opening. So it's either here or it's crossing at the ankles and gently allowing that left side to open up. But we still want to keep the spine tall, okay? And we still want to be breathing and we still want to be focused. Good. So just a couple more rounds of breath here with that. And then let's release that out and take the feet down solidly onto the ground. Again, one more time. Now, if you don't have any problems with your back, I'm going to lead you into a little bit of a forward fold. If you do have some problems in your low back, I'm going to ask you to not go too far with this. Okay? So Toby's going to take a nice deep inhale here.
Am I folding? What am I doing?
You're going to fold forward. You can, no, not with your leg up. Good. She's being a good sport, isn't she? Talking to her back. Good. So we're going to find our solid ground. Our feet are spread hips width apart. And then you're going to inhale here at center. And as you exhale, just start to take yourself forward any amount. So it may just be here, releasing back into your low back. Or maybe the hands can start to move their way down to the floor. Everybody see what is accessible to you. Good. And then once you are where you are, can you connect your breath nice and deep there? Good. So we already have some sinus response. Just one of the many benefits. Good. Just another breath here if you can manage it. And then come up really slow just so we can nicely re-regulate that blood pressure. Good. And we're going to just do a couple things with our shoulders, okay? So we talked about opening up through the front of the body. So what we want to do, without knocking your neighbor out and sliding forward on your seat, see if you can bring your hands behind you and interlace them. I know it's tough. Just a little bit if you can. If not, the fists can just come together. It's just about opening up through the front of the chest. Okay? So you're still here in your tall spine. You're gently opening up through the front of the chest and the pecs. And you're finding your breath. Good. Just a couple more breaths here. And then we're going to be super creative. All right. Return your hands back down to the side. And you're going to take just your right arm and bend it out to the side. So we call this cactus arm. Okay. You're not going to run into your neighbor. But from here, gently pulse your arm back so you're opening up through the front of the chest. Not so that you're in their face. Good. And then let's change it out to the other side. Take the left arm, bend, and open up through that chest. Feel yourself opening up through that pec. Good. And then let's release that down. And now we'll take the arms up overhead, wherever you can come to. And then take the hands together and bring them back to the heart. And then one more time, we'll come back to the neck stretches, inhaling here, and exhaling and taking your gaze over to the left. And then coming back to center, inhaling, filling up, and exhaling and taking your gaze to the right. Good. And then let's come back to center and open your eyes if you've closed them. And just see if you feel a little better. Take a few extra little shoulder rolls here. We are very limited. I'm sorry about that. But we got a little something, right? All right? All right. So super easy. You guys can do this anywhere. It's just an awakening.
I feel great.
Woohoo!
Thank you. All right. I feel better. Whew. Tina, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So in our last segment of the day, we're going to talk about how each of us can be our own advocates. We always do an advocacy piece at every patient conference. And I'm so excited for the people that we have here today. I'm not going to tell you about them, though. I'm going to let Catherine McMahon tell you about them. She's going to moderate this part. So, Catherine, come on down.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all here. I'm Catherine, the program manager at Lupus LA, so thank you for coming. I'm really excited to introduce our advocacy panel. We have two really great guests with us. We have Brandon Stevenson, who's going to come up from Sorrell Associates. He's the vice president there. And we also have Mary Rosas, who's the state manager of the West region for GlaxoSmithKline. Both Brandon and Mary have been longtime supporters of Lupus LA. They're very passionate about patients' rights and patient access to quality treatment, so we're really lucky to have them here with us today and to share their expertise. They're also both been very instrumental in securing sponsorships from pharma and GlaxoSmithKline for our conferences, which allow us to put on these great educational events. So please join me in welcoming Mary and Brandon, if you want to come on up. And I think Brandon's going to share with us first. Is that right?
Actually, Mary's going to
Mary's going to share, and Brandon, and then I'm going to come back up and we're going to talk about the postcards. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Well, good afternoon, everybody. As Catherine has said, part of my job at GSK has been to work with organizations like Lupus LA. And I wanted to first ask a question of everybody here. Raise your hand if you know who your mayor is. Yippee. Okay. How many of you know who your county supervisor is? Okay. A little bit more work needs to be done there. How about your state assembly member? Not bad. State senator? Congressional member? Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much for sharing that. Well, for those of you who did raise your hands, you're exactly the kind of people we need. We need you to help us bring more people to the table and educate more people. So raise your hand if you're comfortable picking up the phone and calling any of your elected officials and saying, I want to have a meeting with you. Okay. What about if someone is running for office, whether it's your neighbor, your friend, any political candidate? Are you comfortable picking up the phone and saying, I want to host a coffee at my house because I have some issues I want to bring to you? Okay, it's not always an easy thing to do. I first got involved many years ago when my then husband decided to run for city council. And I went, what are you doing? Are you crazy? But then I saw that sometimes all it takes is one voice. And I'll give you a quick story on why Mary Rosas got involved with the community. So both my parents did not speak English when I was growing up. And my little sisters went to Head Start. So Head Start's a great program. You know, my little cousins were going. I was already, I think, 12 years old or something. And it turns out there was only one teacher that spoke Spanish. The rest did not speak Spanish. So my mom and my aunts could not communicate with the teachers. And lo and behold, the powers that be said, we're going to remove that teacher. We're just, not happy with her, whatever. And the parents said, what? You cannot take away the only person that we can communicate with. So my mom says, Mary, well, my nickname's Teresa. Teresa, ven para acá, ven para acá. And I'm like, what, Mom? You need to go with me because they're taking away Miss Monso, and we need her at that school. And I said, okay. So we go to the school, and here come in, I can't remember, it was 3 to 5, male, white gentlemen in their blue business suits, and I'm just like watching them like, oh my gosh, what are we getting ourselves into here? And my mother, with all her heart, got up there and said, we love this program. My children are having a better life because of this program, and I want my children to have the best advantages that I can provide them, and Head Start is one of them. And by you taking away Miss Monso, you're taking away the opportunity for my children. And I had to say that in English, right? And I'm like tongue-tied and everything, but I never saw a person be so passionate about an issue, to take on these individuals that came from headquarters in DC or wherever they came from. And for her to stand up to them taught me that I can stand up and I can have a voice and I can make a difference. So that's why I stay involved. I use that same commitment with my job at GSK. My successful story is I get to brag a little bit about Lupus LA. When I first took on this position, there's a Lupus Foundation office in San Jose, there's one in San Diego, and then Lupus LA. So those three organizations represent all of you in statewide conversations, national conversations. When people point to California and they want to know who were the movers and shakers in the lupus arena, it's all of you. So I want to congratulate you, but I want to push you to go to the next step. So I want you to do me a really big favor. Make yourself your short list. Get on the net, and your short list is going to be, who's my mayor now? If you're Los Angeles, obviously everybody knows it's Eric Garcetti, but if you're from a different city, write down that person's name. You know, do they have terms, and when is their term up? Then go to your county supervisor, because we just had a little change up not too long ago in Los Angeles County. So now you have your supervisor's name. Then you go and you get your state assembly member, your senator, and your congressional member. So that's your short list. And once you have that, guess what? You become the go-to person for elections, because your family's going to call you like they do me. Mary, who are we voting for? and I'll give them the choices, and then they can make up their choice. But I'm usually doing my best to stay informed. So once you become that go-to person, I nominate you to be the lupus go-to person. Because, you know, politics is local. And right now you can have a good relationship with your mayor, but next thing you know, that mayor could be a congressional member. Or it could be a U.S. senator. We don't know. So the point is, once that elected official knows who you are, what your challenges are, how they can find solutions to your challenges and your barriers, you become the hero. And all of us who are caring for our loved ones that are fighting a disease or are battling the disease ourselves, we don't always have the energy, but the passion is there. The passion is there to be the voice that needs to be heard. So with that, I think at this point, Lupus for California, within my company, we are the shining star, because this organization took their advocacy to the next level. They have all of you here today, and that didn't exist 4 or 5 years ago. So congratulations to all of you. After all, you know, from my standpoint, while I represent a pharmaceutical company, they exist for one reason, and that's to find cures. And you need to hold the pharmaceutical industry accountable when things aren't going well and you need more answers, more resources. That's what we're here for. We don't always get it right. At the end of the day, at least you know that you can find someone to get some answers, whether it's Toby, Brandon, or myself. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to the expert, the person that can engage you even further. But don't forget, create your short list. And remember, it's not just always elected officials. Politics also exists in hospitals when you're trying to get your care. It exists in other health arenas, your health plans. So that short list can keep getting a little bit longer when it comes to advocacy. So with that, congratulations for being here. Thank you for sharing your Saturday with us and for allowing me to be here. So, Brandon?
I think Mary was being a little too kind. I really think she's the expert when it comes to advocacy, because some of you may not know that she used to actually be my boss, so a lot of what I'm able to do is because of her. I want to thank, first off, Toby and Catherine and all of you and everyone with Lupus LA for putting this conference on. Before I start talking about advocacy, I was hoping you all could join me for one quick thing. Today is Mary's birthday. So if you can join me in wishing her a very happy 29th birthday.
I'm 30.
30 is my bad.
Almost
my bad.
times 2, actually. Oh, no. How embarrassing.
Do you guys want to sing happy?
Oh, this is totally. Oh, my God.
Happy birthday, dear Mary. Happy birthday to you.
You're very welcome. There's a couple of different ways to describe what advocacy is. There's a more formal way and let's just call it a less formal way. I think Margaret Mead put it best when she said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world." Another way to put it is what I heard one of the attendees here say, which is advocacy rocks. I mean, advocacy is what can change the world. I think any substantial societal change that you've seen, from voting rights to civil rights, to anything in the health space, has come from an advocate. Normally, one person stands up and says, "I want to make a change, this is unacceptable," and they get a bunch of people along with them to echo that message, and it just snowballs, becomes more powerful, and ultimately change is achieved. I think a really good example of that recently was the Ice Bucket Challenge. Raise your hand if you saw the videos for the Ice Bucket Challenge. So 150 different countries created Ice Bucket Challenge videos. Millions upon millions of videos were posted. It all came from a family in Massachusetts. A 20-something-year-old was diagnosed with ALS. He looked at his family, who was grief-stricken, and said, "This is unacceptable. There is no cure. We need to start raising awareness." And a family of, call it 6 to 8 people, started reaching out to people and more people, trying to educate them about what ALS was. And next thing you know, this Ice Bucket Challenge started, and celebrities started doing it, and Bill Gates started doing it, and presidents started doing it. And sooner or later, the amount of people that were looking up what ALS was on Google and all the other search engines went through the roof. So simply through one family saying, "People don't know about this disease," to educating other people about it, now millions more people are educated. That's what advocacy is. Why advocate? Why should all of you consider advocating? Quite simply because you're the best advocates in the room. Because you guys are either the ones dealing with lupus, know someone that has lupus, are caring for someone that has lupus. So you can actually put a face on the issue. If you want to take it down to the community level, if you want a park in your community, well, you live in that community. So who better than you to say, "This is what I want for my community." You can also bring the passion. When, if I'm asked to advocate for you, I can come up with great messages, I can frame the issue well, I can say who you should talk to, but you will be able to bring the passion that I can't, because it's actually impacting you. The reason you want to advocate is that you will educate people about what your issue is, how you want it resolved, and what the benefits it would be to you, your family, your community, and so forth. Meredith already talked about who you want to advocate to, and she's spot on as far as it's really the elected officials, because the elected officials are the decision makers as far as what policies get implemented, where funding goes. I think within the last couple of years, the federal government was looking to strip out equipment that would help people that have lost their voice actually generate computer-generated voice. There was an outcry among patients throughout the country, to the point where Congress actually passed unanimously, for a change, legislation that mandated that the Department of Health and Human Services maintain funding for that type of equipment. That all came from patients and from advocates. When you're going in to advocate, you want to make sure that you have a game plan. You don't just want to walk into an elected official's office, regardless of what the issue is, and say, "Oh my God, the sky is falling, and this is what's wrong, and this is what's wrong, and this is what's wrong, and I need you to fix it now. Why haven't you fixed it?" Because the elected official will look at you very strangely. You want to go in there with your messages, your objective, and the impacts already detailed out, so that you can clearly identify what the goal is. We want more funding for lupus research. The why, why is it needed? Because this many people are afflicted with it, because we're getting closer and closer to the end goal of curing it. So if more funding was given, maybe we can get there. How many people would benefit in the community? And then more importantly, how would it benefit you? When you're reaching out to these elected officials, you're their constituent. you're the most important person in the world to them because, technically you're their boss. Sometimes they might forget that, but you're there to remind them of that. And there's several different ways that you can go about advocating. Direct meetings, as Mary talked about. You can do it through phone calls. You can do it through emails. Raise your hand if you have any kind of social media page, Facebook, Twitter, anything like that. Most elected officials these days, especially the younger ones, they do so much communication through social media. You can reach out to them like that. Like, hey, at Mayor Garcetti, have you thought about, doing X, Y, and Z? If you keep engaging him through social media, sooner or later he's going to reply. There's a more old school way of doing it, which is always one of my favorites, a rally. If I showed up in front of Mayor Garcetti's house right now and said, you need to address this issue, homelessness, and you need to do it now, his security would probably just escort me away.
Oh, yeah.
For good reason. If all of us in this room showed up in front of his house chanting, fix this now, his security wouldn't take us away. Most likely the mayor would come out because he's like, there's a large group, they're all chanting, they're holding up signs, I need to go outside and see what they really want. So rallies are a huge way to get people's attention. You want to build a coalition. Once again, one person alone, while one person can change the world, 2 people makes it a lot easier, and 100 people makes it even that much easier. And when you see marches in Washington with hundreds of thousands of people, they kind of get a little attention from the elected officials and from the press, and that reaches even a broader audience. So finding like-minded people that have your same goals, that want to approach it the right way, can make your job so much easier. I think, when you're talking to the policymakers, the decision makers, the elected officials, a couple of key things to remember is always be respectful. It's so easy when you're talking to some of them, as Mary knows very well, that you just want to reach across the table and shake them and say, you haven't paid attention. You've been in Congress for 20 plus years and you never said anything about this issue that's important to me. That will get you kicked out of the office, and that'll probably be the last time you'll be allowed to advocate there. So be respectful. Have a team leader. If you go in there with a group, all 5 of you should talk at once. Have one person that will guide the conversation, and make sure that each person that's in your group knows what their speaking role is. You want to be brief, be very, you're one of 20, 30 meetings that this decision maker is going to have in a day. So if they say you have 30 minutes, try and, allow for 30 minutes. Give them some time to ask questions as well. Be transparent as far as say what you want from them right up front. Don't wait to the end. Let them know straight out, I'm here because I want you to support this legislation to do X, Y, and Z. Also ask them questions and be a resource to them. Look, most people who are in office probably, could not say what lupus is. So they may have questions about what it is when legislation comes up. Say, here's my phone number, here's my email address. By all means, if you have any questions about lupus or about how this bill can impact, the patients that I care about, give me a call. They love that. They love having a Rolodex of people that they can reach out to. And then one of the most crucial things is you got to follow up. If you go in to talk to someone, that's not the end of it. If they do what you want them to do, thank them. If they don't do what you want them to do, follow up and try and find out why. And see, is there a different way that we could approach it to achieve your goal? The more that you stay in contact with them without calling them every single day, you're going to build a relationship so that when they see you, they're going to be like, hey, Mary, how are you? How you been? How's your son? And it'd be like, so did that issue get taken care of? Oh, it hasn't? Let me look into it. Because now they are invested in you because you engaged them, you were passionate, you told them what you wanted, you were respectful, you became a resource, and now you're their friend. And that can go a long way. The stronger you have that relationship, the more trust that there is, the more likely when you come knocking, asking for something, they're going to listen to you and they're going to want to help you out because they know that you're trustworthy, and they also know that if they don't do what you want them to do, you'll be back. And you'll be back with more people and louder, and you're not going to go away until you get what you want. So those are, normally when we do an advocacy kind of presentation training, it can take up an hour. That's a very quick snapshot, but I think either one of us would be happy to answer any questions you might have about how you can be an advocate for yourself, your family, your community, for lupus patients, or really any issue that you're passionate about, because the more that you get involved, the more likely that change will actually occur. So thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much.
So, Catherine, I have a question for you and Toby. Maybe we could start our Orange Goop Challenge and have, like, Tony Braxton with Goop falling on her. And right? Oh, she's got, see, they're already on it.
We don't have that, but every May is Lupus Awareness Month. How many of you knew that May was Lupus Awareness Month? Right on, okay. And last May we started a new thing called High Five for Lupus, which reached actually over 20 million people on social media. It's amazing. And basically we asked people to put on social media or tweet they're giving a high five for lupus, then they could text to donate $5 to lupus through their cell phone on their cell phone bill. We're going to do that again this year, but we are going to try to make it a little larger, and we will reach out more to all of you. And we're going to be doing this also through video messages with celebrities and some other new cool things that you'll find out about in, April. So we do that. Everyone, believe me, every nonprofit wants an ice bucket challenge. Every single one. It totally changed the landscape of ALS. The interesting thing about ALS is that there are more people in the United States who have lupus than have ALS. Did you know that? So it really is about capitalizing on social media, making sure your message is clear, it's succinct, it's directed. We're trying to work on that every day at Lupus LA, and we need your help to make sure that it even reaches 40 million people this May. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
And what you said as far as, you just told 100 or so people about it. If you all tell your friends, your family,
people about
it multiplies it out. That's how you really get a movement going. So don't just be a participant when the campaign starts. Become a champion for it and become a communicator of it as well. And that will hopefully help it spread so that it can be even bigger than the Ice Bucket Challenge. Fingers crossed.
More questions? We have maybe like 5 minutes for a few more questions.
Can you first with the glasses, miss, and then, okay.
Is there any pending legislation
It's here.
Well, at this point in California, the legislative year is over, but I can share with you something else that you can pat yourselves on the back for. One of the areas that we were trying to impact is Congress. There is a congressional lupus caucus. And so I shared this with Toby and her leadership, and they have started, here we go. Is that a segue or what? This was not planned.
I didn't even give her any money to say.
So the key issue is this. How do we get our congressional members to say, I care about lupus, I want to be part of this caucus? Because as you can imagine, cancer groups, all the disease states have reached out to the congressional members, and so they've got to make a choice, and we want them to choose lupus. So look at the card. Whoever your congressional member is needs to hear from you, and we've got a couple of new ones in California that need to be educated and see the numbers. Like you just heard, lupus has more patients than, or I should say more patients have lupus than ALS. So let's be heard and let our congressperson know that we want you to join that caucus. We want you to be active, and we want you to ask us, what are the problems, what are the successes, so that you can be well informed. So
Actually, that we're going to ask you to fill it out along with your yellow evaluation sheet before you leave today, and hand it to one of the people, one of the back doors. We will mail it for you. We will figure out who your representative is, and we will take care of posting that for you. There are extra ones out on the table outside if you want to take some and get your friends or family members to do it as well. We got hundreds of them, so you let us know how many you need. We'll get them to you. And
we had one more question. I don't want to leave her without.
we'll
Yes,
get
go
her in
ahead.
1 sec.
I like advocacy. I believe that advocacy rocks, and that's the only way to change. You can't just say, "Oh, we need change," and not present the thought. Or go to DC. Sometimes I found that if you can't meet with a Congress member, it's okay to meet with their LA. They will still
Do you want to talk about meetings?
And it's easier to almost build a relationship with Health LA and the Health LA representatives. And I've gone to DC multiple times and over the course of my many years that I've gone with the LRI board in LA or LFA, that they, hey Amanda, how's it going? And I do know more about lupus, and then personally asking them about the congressional lupus caucus, because I've made multiple phone calls, and I didn't have a postcard, but multiple phone calls, not just mine, but my mother's, my brother's, like wherever your family lives, like have your brother come. Okay, my sister has lupus. Are you a member of the congressional lupus caucus? That's all it takes to the phone call.
Yeah.
I don't even know about it. But then a weird question I've gotten is, how much does it cost joining? Because I guess apparently there's congressional caucuses that cost. I know it's free. But we need to also, when we make the phone calls, tell the people that we're calling it's free to join.
Right. So anyone can join the lupus caucus as far as if they're a representative. And Catherine and I also go to DC once a year to lobby on the Hill. We try to get everyone we talk to join the lupus caucus if they're eligible to join the lupus caucus. We speak to Mary and Brandon before we go. We get all of our ducks in order. But it's really easy to do. Again, you don't have to be professional healthcare advocates. You can be you, which is a lupus patient or a loved one of a lupus patient. I think Catherine wanted to share one thing.
When is the next advocacy day?
I don't know that date. It's next year. The date has not been announced yet.
I just wanted to add very quickly that the reasons why the postcards are so important, right now there's only 4 members on the caucus from California, just 4.
And how many congressional members? Over 100, isn't there?
Yeah.
So over 100 congressional members, and we got to move that number.
Yeah, we only have 4 from California, so sending out those postcards will be really helpful and will give an opportunity to raise the visibility of lupus and create more awareness. So as Toby shared, if you can fill out the postcards, we are going to collect them and mail them in for you on your behalf.
Anything else you guys want to add?
Birthday girl?
Thank you for my birthday song.
And then,
The yellow
Any more
ones?
questions?
Okay.
Yes. So do I.
We don't have any support groups there. How do we go about starting?
that is
That's
a
a great
really good
question.
question, yeah. We do have people in Los Angeles is such a big area, so we have 8 adult support groups throughout the area, but we obviously need more locations. So that's something we can definitely talk about, and I can share with you. I have lots of different things on like the first steps of getting one started, so we can talk after the conference today. And
I think that's also important just to note that our support groups are both lay-led, meaning that they're peer-led, so they're patients or loved ones of patients, or they're professionally led. So we're always open to talking with individuals who want to start support groups in their area. We have a ton of materials. Catherine is an amazing resource. So if you are interested in starting a support group and you're not near one of our already 8, soon to be 9 adult support groups, and you want to take the lead and be the advocate, that's wonderful.
And don't forget to call Tony Cardenas. He's the new congressional member out there.
Or call Mary.
And I noticed that most of your support groups are in the evening time. Do you ever have it in the daytime? Because I have programs in my eyes, so I can't drive at night.
the groups that meet on Saturday meet during the day. So there are some that aren't at nighttime. But during the week, it's at night because that usually works better for people's schedule. But if you would like to attend one during the day, we do have groups that meet on Saturday.
How do we do? Do we do okay? Does anybody feel like they learned something?
There's 7
Don't raise your
California
hand if you
members,
didn't.
not 4.
Are we good?
Okay, we're going to do one. We're good. We are going to thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are going to wrap up our day. As I said before, inside your folders, although I see some of you have them out, are yellow evaluation forms. We really need to hear from you. You don't have to put your name on it. It can be totally anonymous. You can say whatever you want, good, bad, not, neither. But we take them really to heart, and it helps us decide what the next topics are going to be at the next conference. When we hear that you want to hear more about women's issues or clinical trials or whatever it is that you want to hear about, we really take that to heart and try to get people here who can talk to you about the issues. This conference, or the topic of this conference, came out of a lot of comments from past evaluation forms asking to talk to orthopedic surgeons or physical therapists. So we really do listen to you. So on your way out, a couple of things. Make sure you hand your yellow evaluation form and your postcard to one of the people at the back doors, although there's no one there yet, but there will be. In addition, don't forget that parking is downstairs, not upstairs. So when you're done here, take the elevators down one level, and that's where the valet pickup is. And if you have any questions, we're going to be out back. Oh, translation equipment. If you have translation equipment, I hope someone's translating this. Please make sure that you hand it back and you get your ID back so you can get your driver's license or whatever you handed in, and we get the equipment back. Am I missing anything else? Awesome. We'll be outside to answer questions. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.